Good evening. Time is 7:31. I'd like to call to order the March 11th meeting of the Norwalk Common Council. If you please rise and join me in pledging allegiance to our nation's flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Burnett,
Present.
Mr. Goldstein,
Here.
Mr. Lopez,
Present.
Ms. Najolski Eichner, Ms. Smith,
Here.
Ms. Ayers,
Present.
Mr. Seeds,
Present.
Mr. Wiggins,
Here.
Ms. Young,
Here.
Ms. Edie,
Here.
Ms. Winterstrand, here, Ms. Dunn,
Here.
Mr. Sutton,
Present.
Mr. Frere,
Here.
Ms. Shanahan.
Here.
We have 14 in attendance. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the acceptance of the minutes, regular meeting, February 25th, 2025. Do I have a motion? Ms. Shanahan, do I have any corrections, omissions? Ms. Smith?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. One small one on page 10, paragraph 2, third sentence, where I said on my comments about the state legislature, I announced that the state legislature approved $829,000 for special education. To be exact, but more importantly, Mayor, a significant chunk of Nicole Ayers, Councilmember Nicole Ayers' comments were completely left off of the minutes.
Okay.
And Telesco has been contacted about this very serious omission because she had very significant and important comments to make.
Okay, very good, thank you. So she'll add them into the minutes before they're submitted. Any further corrections or omissions or deletions? Seeing none, all in favor of the minutes as corrected? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, public participation. We ask people who wish to address the council to speak for 3 minutes on an item that is on the agenda.
First one is Romney Donald.
Good evening, council members. My name is Romney Donald, and I currently reside in District A. I work full-time in tech and part-time as a licensed therapist serving marginalized communities, and I'm a single parent to an active daughter who is an artist. My daughter has faced challenges within Norwalk school system, yet she continues to excel. She is a high honor roll student and a member of the National Junior Honor Society. Her resilience is inspiring, but no child should have to work twice as hard just to receive the support they deserve. Unfortunately, my concerns don't stop at my child's experiences. I too have faced mistreatment in the city from local politicians, community leaders, and even within the workforce housing program. These are not isolated issues. They reflect broader patterns of inequity that need to be addressed. Tonight, I want to speak on 2 agenda items: the tax abatement agreement for Meadow Gardens affordable housing and the appointment of JP Hibansky as Chief of Economic and Community Development. These decisions will directly impact Norwalk's Black residents, and I want to ensure they are made with transparency and accountability. Housing affordability remains a crisis, yet we rarely see data on who is actually benefiting from workforce housing and Section 8 programs. Nearly half of Black households in Connecticut are rent burdened, spending more than 30% of their income on housing. Meanwhile, Norwalk's Black population has steadily declined, and despite the city's overall population growing. Gentrification is forcing Black families out, yet affordable housing initiatives often serve those already at an advantage. If these programs are equitable, then release public data showing who is actually benefiting. With the appointment of the new Chief of Economic and Community Development, I hope to see a focus on inclusive growth. Historically, when cities expand, Black communities suffer. A 2022 study found that Black business ownership in gentrifying cities drops by nearly 50% when redevelopment projects favor wealthier new incomers. How will this administration and future ensure that economic development supports Black residents rather than pricing them out? How will it support Black-owned businesses, home ownership pathways, and workforce opportunities? Last year, Norwalk's DEI officer resigned during Black History Month due to alleged mistreatment by city officials. That was a significant loss, yet it was met with silence, not just from leadership, but also from organizations that typically advocate for racial equity. At the same time, national data shows that white women have benefited the most from DEI programs, while the Black communities these programs were meant to uplift continue to struggle. As DEI initiatives face national rollbacks,
30 seconds remaining.
how will Norwalk ensure that equity remains a local priority? Additionally, the Democratic Committee's website, a basic tool for keeping constituents informed, hasn't been updated in years. How can residents expected to be engaged when they aren't kept informed? Norwalk has an opportunity to lead by example, but that requires transparency, accountability, and a commitment to inclusive policies. So I ask the council, how will you ensure that Black residents are not left behind in housing and economic opportunities?
3 minutes.
What steps will you take to improve transparency and communication with your community constituents? And how will you uphold equity and inclusion even as national policies shift? I appreciate the time and effort that goes into these discussions, and I look forward to seeing meaningful action taken. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wilner Joseph.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Wilner Joseph. I'm a member, esteemed members of the council and fellow community members. My name is Wilner Joseph. I previously lived in Stanford and now reside in District B in Norwalk. As an author and founder of Hoops for All nonprofit dedicated to serving marginalized communities, my work is centered in ensuring equitable access to resources that promote growth and opportunity. Tonight, as the council considers agenda items regarding the confirmation and hiring of the new Chief of Economic and Community Development, I want to highlight a critical issue in the accessibility and equity and implementation of upcoming Norwalk Community Recreation Center at 98 South Main Street. This $15.5 million renovation project presents an incredible opportunity, but I want to ensure that the Black community I represent will truly have access to it. The previous center was a cornerstone for our youth, families, and elders. An absence left a void, and as we look to the future, we must ensure this new facility serves those who need it most. As the new Chief of Economic and Community Development assumes this role, I urge the council to consider, number one, how will the city ensure affordability? Will there be a sliding scale fees or subsides to remove financial barriers for working class families? Two, will programming reflect our community needs? Can we expect dedication, culture events, workshop development, and youth mentorship? Three, will there be a community advisory board with Black representation? How do we ensure dedications about programming and access are made with the community, not just for it? Four, will the outreach be handled? Will there be proactive efforts to engage Black residents through the local churches, schools, and grassroots organizations? Five, how will the inclusivity be maintained? Will staff and volunteers receive a culture complicity training to foster a truly welcoming environment? The appointment of a new Chief of Economic and Community Development is a chance to reframe our city commitment to equitable growth. I urge the council to prioritize these questions so these recreation centers does not become a symbol of revitalization that includes the very people who have historically relied on it. Thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to working together to make this vision a reality. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's all the people in the gallery here that have signed up. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the council? James, do we have anybody online?
If you're online and wish to address the council, please raise your hand electronically at this time. There are none, Mr. Mayor.
No. Okay, thank you, and I will close the public session. Next, we have resignations and appointments. I'm putting one forward as an appointment for Steve Ferguson for the Fire Commission. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, Mr. Lopez. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I should start checking this. Who is it?
Darlene.
Ms.
I
Young.
do, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. So I put Mr. Steve Ferguson, which many of us know has served on the Planning Commission for the city for 18 years. And was involved until the Planning and Zoning Committee Commission merged into what it is today. He is serving on the ZBA for the city for 2 years. But Mr. Ferguson has also been a member of the Human Services Council, where he was on that board for about 12 years. And he also served on the side-by-side school board for 8 years, and was also a member of STAR, lighting the way for 4 years. And so I say all that to say, because I think what he submitted talked about his career in finance, which he did have a long career in finance. But what I really find Mr. Ferguson has is a commitment to the city and a desire to serve. And that is really evident in all the years that he served on all the committees here in the city. And so I am just happy and honored to put his name forward. And as we always say, the hardest thing is to get people to serve and be committed to the work. And Mr. Ferguson has truly shown that, not just with the city of Norwalk and the planning and zoning, but in other institutions that serve the community well. And so I'm so pleased that he is willing to continue to serve the city, and look forward to being approved unanimously, hopefully. Thanks.
Any further comment? Mr. Barnett. Thanks.
Almost forgot.
I know.
It's my new glasses.
Oh, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I also echo the comments made by Councilmember Darlene Young. Steve Ferguson has served on several boards for the city, and we appreciate his willingness to continue to serve. His extensive professional background in the banking sector for over 25 years will be a welcome addition to the Fire Commission. Steve has volunteered his time and resources for various events across the city and has recently been recognized in 2024 for those efforts through the various awards that are outlined in his bio. I fully support this appointment, and I look forward to Steve's contribution on the Fire Commission.
Thank you. Any further comments or discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. I thank you all for unanimously approving this, because with Steve on the Fire Commission, if you look at the Fire Commission and the Police Commission, we now have two very diverse bodies that represent the city of Norwalk in these very, very important first responder positions. So I think this is something great, and I thank you all for your support. Okay, next we have remarks from the mayor. So recently, and to the speaker, we just broke ground for the Norwalk Community Recreation Center. It's a game changer for South Norwalk and the neighborhood and the city. It's going to provide a home for the city's numerous recreational and parks programs, restoring a much needed community place. I want to thank the council and other members for joining me in the celebration. And I want to thank Congressman Himes and Senator Duff for their support. And to answer your questions, yes, this is going to be an amazing place for everybody to come and enjoy, have good social activities, have good wholesome activities, and it's something we're really looking forward to. So again, thank you for speaking on that. Next, as you know, this Friday night is the Mayor's Bowl. It's in March this year, which as we started planning it, we found that other things were being planned. So we made sure that we didn't interfere or with any other event that was being planned. So it's going to be at the Sarah Fresca Italian Center in Stamford. We'd like to find a place to have it here in Norwalk, but so far we haven't yet, but maybe we will eventually.
We're raising money for the Salvation Army and the Family and Children's Agency. Both organizations have been in Norwalk for a very, very long time and do so much for so many people. As you know, the Salvation Army provides meals, programs, food pantries, hosts weekly children's programs, assists in referrals to community assistance programs, and holds worship services. Family and Children's Agency provides parent educational programs, development and behavioral health services, adoption and foster family assistance, after school and summer programs, assistance to victims of crimes, and supportive housing. So the good news is, well, I guess good news and bad news. The tickets are sold out. So good news for everybody that was able to get a ticket. Bad news for anybody that may be wanting to come but didn't get a ticket. I think we could probably accommodate anybody if they want to come later on. If we have 5 or 6 more people, I don't think it'll be a problem. Right, Irene?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's going to be a great night for everybody. And I want to give a shout out to Irene, who has been my right-hand person in the mayor's balls and doing the organization. This is no easy task. This is something where you bring in 400 people plus, put them at the tables they want to be at, get the silent auction items, the live auction items, and get everything organized. Now she's even going to ask for Friday if she could leave at 12 o'clock to get this done. Come on. So, but anyway, and Irene and the team. We have so many people. Well, we have Brianna and Zolma and Esser and give me some more names.
Sabrina and Anna and Joanna from Parks and Recs and Nicholas from Parks and Recs. Ian Hall from Planning and Zoning. So all several city employees volunteering their time.
So, and when you see the event on Friday night,
Yes.
it'll go off without a hitch. You're gonna say, how could they possibly do this? But they did. Last but not least, I took a ride by Sono School yesterday. If you haven't been by that school, take a look. It's absolutely amazing what it looks like right now. It's up out of the ground. The skin is being put on it. I'm going to be going on a tour. I know some of you went on a tour last week. I didn't, but I'm going to go this time when there's no mud. But just take a look around. It's absolutely mind-boggling how this is coming up out of the ground, and it's so beautiful. I can't wait to see the final product. I want to give Alan Lowe a big shout out for that. Also, I happened to be at Norwalk High School this evening, and I saw that the steel is coming up out of the ground. So progress is being made. This is an exciting time. If you know, we did the Concord Magnet School. We did the Jefferson renovation, completely renovated as new, and we built a brand new Cranberry School. And now, with the thanks of the state of Connecticut and Senator Duff, we're going to be putting air conditioning in all the schools that don't have air conditioning. And this is going to be another game changer for the young students, because as you know, school not only goes into June, but they have summer school, but also the weather's getting a little bit warmer. So when it's 80, 85 degrees outside and there's no air conditioning in the schools, I don't know how we expected the children to learn, but that's going to be all taken care of now. And I want to thank the council for the support in that. And with that, I will stop and turn it over to the council president, Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. And I would just like to make a comment about that tour that was so muddy. It was really wonderful to see the school coming up, the South Norwalk School, but yeah, it was quite muddy. And some people forgot to wear their boots, and I was glad that I did. But on to business. First order of business tonight is I would like to move the appointment of Attorney Kathleen Royal as Assistant Corporation Counsel. And I would like to turn it over to our Corporation Counsel, Mario Capolo, to introduce her.
I'd like to ask Kathleen to also please come up as well, maybe say a few words. We're very fortunate to have found Kathleen. She did exactly what we've been looking for this position, which has been vacant for some time. She has that perfect mix of experience, not only in certain areas of municipal law, but also in very specific areas concerning a need for this position, which is contract and transactional work, which has been an area of real need for us over the past year or so. So we're very fortunate to have her. She has a great resume, having graduated I believe magna cum laude from New York Law School, undergraduate at Hamilton, many years of experience doing in-house counsel with various corporations, and also having experience in private practice as well in Fairfield County, particularly doing work in areas that are relevant to our practice here in City Hall. So, and she's also sailed around the world for I think what 2 years. So she's an extraordinary candidate. We're so pleased to have her, and I just wanted to briefly introduce herself to you.
What it doesn't say on my resume is I'm also a graduate of Bryan McMahon High School. I'm a Norwalk native. My parents still live in Norwalk, and with my experience, I'm looking forward to bringing back and giving to the community that was my foundation. And to, again, I'm looking forward to using my corporate experience and my municipal experience to help the city of Norwalk, as I say, coming back home.
Yeah.
So,
Welcome.
thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any? I'd just like to welcome you.
Thank you.
If I may, I know that our law department has very much needed you, and I'm sure they're all going to be thankful the day you start. So, so welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'm really excited. Thank you very much.
But Josh, I think you
And if I could, anyone?
Gosh, I
I'm just
think
gonna
it's-
make a joke and say that I was glad that you have experience in circumnavigation, because that's gonna come in handy here too. But welcome aboard. We're so glad to have you, and obviously there's a lot of work to do, and we need really great people to help do it. So thank you for coming aboard.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to digging in.
And now I will call for the vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstentions? Welcome. Okay. And now moving on to the consent calendar, tonight being read by Councilmember Lopez.
Okay, thank you. Public safety and general government. B3, authorize Department of Public Works to have Eversource Electric install 3 new street lights on the existing utility poles on the west side of Theodore Lane, and 1 new street light on the existing utility pole in the cul-de-sac at the south end of Theodore Lane, in accordance with the attached plan at approximate cost of $100 per month, account number noted. B4, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all documents, agreements necessary to accept grant funding under the Connecticut Department of Transportation Highway Safety Project, account number noted, FY25, distracted driving high visibility enforcement grant. B5, authorize the chief of police, James Walsh, to execute any and all documents and agreements as may be necessary to implement the Connecticut Department of Transportation Highway Safety Project, account number noted, FY25, distracted driving high visibility enforcement grant. C, Public Works, approve the honorary naming of the portion of Woodward Avenue from South Main Street to Bird Avenue to be named Reverend Ramon Figueroa Way. C2, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a First Amendment agreement between the city of Norwalk and Time Bond Incorporated for Project DPW 2024-1 on-call engineering services. The agreement is for 1 year, billable on an hourly basis for a sum not to exceed $150,000 with an option to extend for 1 additional term of 1 year. Account numbers noted. C3, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a Second Amendment agreement between the city of Norwalk and Weston and Sampson Engineers Incorporated for Project DPW 2024-1 on-call engineering services. The agreement is for a period of 1 year, billable on an hourly basis for a sum not to exceed $150,000 annually with an option to extend for 1 year, additional term of 1 year, 1 additional term of 1 year. Account numbers noted. C4, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a First Amendment agreement between the city of Norwalk and AI Engineers Incorporated for Project DPW 2024-1 on-call engineering services. The agreement is for a period of 1 year, billable on an hourly basis for a sum not to exceed $150,000 with an option to extend for 1 year, 1 additional term of 1 year. Account numbers noted. C5, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a Second Amendment between the city of Norwalk and Time Bond Incorporated for Project DPW 2024-2 on-call construction inspection observation services for the amount not to exceed $350,000 billable on an hourly basis. Account number noted. C6, Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a permanent sidewalk easement with Noreen R. Norman of 31 Richmond Hill Road for construction of sidewalks along Richmond Hill Road for project PM 2024-4 paving at various locations. C7, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a permanent sidewalk easement with Connie C. Hertz and Martin Hertz of 33 Richmond Hill Road for construction of sidewalks and driveway apron along Richmond Hill Road for project PM 2024-4 paving at various locations. C8, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to award a contract agreement with Kelowna Concrete and Asphalt Paving LLC in the amount of $1,212,365 with a 10% contingency of $121,365.60 for project TMP 2024-7 Hospital Hill Village Safety Enhancement Project. Account number is noted. C9, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an extension for a 1-year agreement with Aid Video Excavators LLC Project TMP 2022-4 Concrete Services, Ada Row improvements at various locations for an amount not to exceed $500,000 with a contingency of 10% of $50,000. Account number is noted. C10, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to enter into a temporary right of entry agreement with Linda Makowski to enter over a certain portion of 164 Gorman Avenue for construction access, slope modification purposes in connection with the sidewalk installation for project PM 2023-5 pavement management program. C11, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to enter a temporary right of entry agreement with Nancy D. Acunta. I think that's it. Is that right? Yep, okay. To enter to over a certain portion of 170 Gorman Avenue for construction access, slope modification purposes in connection with the sidewalk installation for project PM 2023-5 pavement management program. C12, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Paradigm Software LLC for the purchase of software platform to manage the truck scales and customer accounts of the city transfer station and yard waste site and amount not to exceed $40,332.08, plus an annual support and service fee of $11,515 that will be renewed on an annual basis. Account number is noted. D, economic and community development. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to enter into any and all agreements related to right of entry and access to USPS Post Office at 2 Belden Avenue and all other agreements and documents required thereunder. And I believe that concludes the consent calendar.
Thank you, Councilmember Lopez.
Thank you.
You've heard the consent calendar. I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the consent calendar as read, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstentions? That passes unanimously, and I will turn it back to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Brings us to item 7A1, Mr. Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If we can just pause a second for Attorney Callahan to join us. Okay. Item 7A1 reads as follows: under the Finance and Claims Committee, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to enter into agreement with the Norwalk Housing Authority, Sound Communities, Inc., and SG Meadow Gardens LLC for the abatement of real property taxes pursuant to CGS 8-215 and the Norwalk Code 58-1. It's spec at a rate of 5% of the aggregate rents collected for the respect to the Meadow Gardens Affordable Housing Development, excluding any rental assistance subsidies and reduced by direct costs of utilities and trash payments made by the developer for such fiscal years for the following initial terms. 16 years for the date of completion of the project as reflected by the issuance of the first certificate of occupancy or temporary certificate of occupancy for the last unit in the project, or 2, 18 years from the date when all parties have assigned the agreement, which shall occur first, whichever should occur first, which initial term shall automatically be extended for an additional 12 years absent of an uncured default. I'd like to move this item and brief comment, and then any questions and comments from Attorney Callahan? As we know, Meadow Gardens has been a long-standing stable of affordable housing options in Norwalk. And the exciting plans that are before us are in place to redesign the property. And the authorization before the council is related to the financial and fiscal aspects of this project. To align with the requirements of the financial institution lender, the authorization extends the tax abatement terms and agreements with the city. And in the long run, provide savings to the Meadow Garden residents. Attorney Callahan is here with us to provide additional information and address any questions that council members might have. I might state we did not have an opportunity to review this at the Finance Committee, so we're bringing it directly to the council. So please, if you have any questions, they should be addressed at this time.
First of all, are there any questions for Mr. Callahan? Mr. Callahan, if you'd like to give a brief explanation or update.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we had arranged ahead of time for a representative for the Housing Authority to attend this meeting, and they're very diligent, and I can only imagine there must have been some sort of technical difficulty accessing it. So I'll do my best to speak on their behalf, but they did provide a backup memorandum, a quite detailed backup memorandum as part of the agenda package. It goes through point by point what the project is and what the need is and why they're doing it. But just briefly, it is a mix of housing that from memory, it's 59 units at 50% AMI and approximately 30 units at 30% AMI. And the idea is that there's currently a housing authority that is there. It's going to be a new development, and they're bringing in a developer to construct the development. And as with most affordable housing developments, particularly when you're talking about the AMIs here that they're trying to get mixed in, it does require financing and tax credits and so forth and so on, which is the situation here. So this actually came before the Finance Committee and the council. Oh, geez, it must have been about a year ago now. And this is just a slightly modified form of what was already approved by the council. So everything up until where it says whichever shall occur first, which is the second to last line in the resolution halfway through, that's already been approved by the council approximately a year ago. The Housing Authority, Adam Bovilsky and Lisa Endo approached me a few weeks ago, as is usually the case when you're trying to get your construction loan financing in place. There's some last minute things that come up. Their bank of choice, TD Bank, I believe they're somehow working with Freddie Mac. I believe they're guaranteeing the loans or the tax credits. I don't have that level of detail, but the requirement of Freddie Mac was that the tax payment be extendable for an additional 12 years in order to qualify for the lending. So in order for this project to be financeable, this amendment to the resolution is necessary. So that's the Reader's Digest version. All this is saying is that the tax abatement will last for a period of approximately 18 years, depending on which condition occurs, and it'll extend 12 years beyond that. It's for a total period of obviously 30 years. This is consistent with the ordinance and the underlying statute with which the ordinance was adopted. And, quite frankly, these things would be extended in any event after the 18-year period to allow for the tenants to remain there that have been residing there for many years. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions for Mr. Kelly? Mr. Wiggins?
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Just so I'm clear, so it's, you said it's 15 years, do it come back to the council after that time? Or do
guys just automatically put in an extension? How does that?
It's an automatic extension, assuming there's no default. So for example, if there was a failure to pay the abated taxes, the discounted, the taxes set by agreement during that period of time, which would be extraordinarily unlikely, given that it's a finance project, that would be a default, and they wouldn't be entitled to their extension. Otherwise, absent a default, it's an automatic extension for 12 years. It's really just extending out the tax abatement agreement for an additional period of time to satisfy a lender.
Further questions, Mr. Johan?
Thank
Mr.
you.
Lopez?
Did the bank offer any sort of concessions with this extension? Whether it's lower interest rates or anything at all?
You know, I had hoped that the folks from the Housing Authority Beyond to answer some of the more detailed questions. I honestly, I don't have that level of granular detail to offer. You know, what I can say is that our relationship with the housing authorities is very transparent and frank. And I can't imagine that they would be asking for it. A modification, particularly in the last minute under the circumstances. They understand how we operate and that we operate through committee, and that they were asking for an exception and an exceptional one at that. So my belief under those circumstances is there was really no other choice. The project which would not have been financed.
Right, okay, thank you, thanks.
I would just add, also, I'd be very surprised if there's any negotiation with the bank. It just probably came up in underwriting that they needed to extend the term, and this, as Attorney Callahan said, these projects, you know, the abatement agreement always ends up getting extended when they do the next revitalization project for the property. So it's kind of standard course, and probably just an additional underwriting requirement that came up, but I doubt they negotiated the deal points. I don't know that for a fact, but my assumption is probably not.
Thanks.
Other questions? Mr. Burnett?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Attorney Callahan, can you further expand on how the extension of the tax abatement ultimately will help the residents of Meadow Gardens in light of the comments that were made in public participation? I think it's important to understand that, you know, not only is this helping the project, but it's helping the residents.
Oh, it's directly helping the residents.
I'm sorry?
It's directly helping the residents. Primary function of the tax abatements to make the apartments affordable to those residents and available to them. You know, again, there is a certain number of units that cannot be rented just to you know, to above the 30% AMI level, and another number of units that can't be rented above the 50% AMI level. You know, the reality is it makes the apartments affordable, right? And absent the tax abatement agreement, the taxes on each unit would be based on our grand list of a full assessment, which would be, you know, a significant tax burden added to the, you know, the rent always includes all the carrying costs of the unit. Real estate tax is a carrying cost of any rental units, and it's absorbed into the rent price. So it simply makes the units affordable.
Mr. Seed?
Yeah, I mean, like many of you guys and everybody knows, I actually grew up in Meadows Gardens, and we've been talking about this project for a very long time. And every time I've seen Adam at an event, the mayor's ball or anything, I've always been talking for years now about making sure that Meadows Gardens stays affordable. So that people like me growing up, or people that already lived there and have been living there for a long time, can continue to live there. It's not a question, it's just a comment that I really appreciate this amendment. That really helps make sure that it stays affordable for people that can live there. And really happy for this project that's gonna help people like me growing up and other people have access to affordable housing with quality neighbors and just a sense of community that I had when I grew up there.
Mr. Goldstein.
I couldn't agree with Councilman Seymour. This is a vital project. There is a genuine affordable housing issue in Connecticut and in our country and here in Norwalk. And we should be doing everything we can to fight back and preserve and protect and expand housing options at all different levels. And this is part of that. I would just note, and I know that you are not the primary attorney responsible for this. There are always last minute items that come up in projects like this. This is a particularly big project. I would just note that as this is moving down the field, if there are other issues like this that come up, if they can, to the best, best of their abilities, be able to be worked through the committee process and through, through our process as best as possible. I realize that things come up and we're flexible and we figure out how to deal with it. But this, I know, kind of came at us pretty fast here.
Yeah, I absolutely will carry that message back. I think it is understood already, but I will reiterate the message.
Mr. Wiggins.
Go ahead, you didn't.
No, that's all right.
Okay, I go after.
Okay. So when it comes to the
You really
developers,
push the floor.
what's that?
You typically, say that I spoke if someone didn't speak, but.
You want to go?
Whoever wants to speak first, go ahead.
Flip a coin.
Good, I got it. Just kidding. I'll go for it.
All right, so what I was gonna say is, I really appreciate you both coming today and speaking on those topics, because, a lot of friends of mine and a lot of people in the community have those same thoughts, and share those same concerns. So although I do think, this project is gonna, be impactful, I do think we should listen to what they're saying, because, that's a real thing. I grew up in Norwalk. I've been living in Norwalk all my majority of my life, and I will say that a lot of my friends can't live here. I probably have, out of all of my friends, probably 10% of my friends still live in Norwalk. So once again, although this project is, I feel is moving in a okay direction, the things that these two individuals mentioned should be highlighted. Minorities is getting pushed out of the city, and particularly Black people. When you look at the school system, when you look at just the neighborhoods, they're getting pushed out of the city. So I don't want to soften the blow. And to your point, Josh, we're going to continue working, but this is a real thing. So I just want to highlight what you guys said.
Mr. Lopez.
Mr. Mayor, just Mayor, Lisa Endo is actually on, pardon me. Ms. Endo from the Housing
Okay,
Authority is.
let Mr. Lopez speak, and if you want him to speak, yes, recognize.
Okay, I'll let you know, because I know he had quite
Mr. Lopez.
So when it comes to the developer, is there a max allowed deduction cap on utilities or trash collection built into the contract? Is there anything of that heavy provision that's stored in the contract, as far as you can tell? Or as far as you can recall?
It's there is I think it'd be best to let Ms. Endo unpack that question, but yes, the way it's written is that the calculation is at 5%, and then it goes on to say with respect to, excluding rental subsidies and reduced by direct costs of utilities and trash payments paid by the developer. I'll let her unpack how that affects the calculation, but effectively, it's all part of a calculation on how they arrive at the 5%.
Okay, thank you.
Oh. No, I just wanted to add that Ms. Endo was on, just so that I knew he had questions for that probably best answered by somebody directly from the authority.
Right, I see, yeah.
Ms. Edie?
I can't see that.
Hi, thank you, Mayor. I just had a quick question because I don't really understand it so well, but are you saying after 30 years that this property could potentially not be affordable anymore? If we don't do this,
So
Am I?
someone speaking.
It's Ms. Endo. She can.
Go ahead, Ms. Endo.
Hi, everyone. Good evening, and thank you so much for letting me participate. Council Callahan, you did a great job explaining the project. Thank you so much. And we appreciate all of the comments about affordable housing and the role that Meadow Gardens has played in the community. We would not have been able to receive our financing through Freddie Mac if we were not able to provide this 12-year auto extension beyond the original term that this council approved in the agreement about a year ago. So that was to answer an earlier question. And in regards to the affordability of the units, as Mr. Callahan described, being at 50% AMI or 30% AMI, that is a restriction that will stay in place beyond the 30-year tax abatement agreement. It will stay in place for 98 years, subject to a ground lease between the owner and the housing authority who owns the land. It's a complicated structure, but this property will remain affordable for the very long term.
So in 98 years, we'll have to come back and vote on this. Any further comment or discussion?
One last question. Oh, go ahead.
Ms. Dunn?
I'm just trying to understand this a little bit more, so thank you for bearing with me. So it's actually the net of the rents is 5% of the appraised value, is that?
The taxes that we will pay each year are calculated by first taking the rental revenue we receive, taking out any assistance from vouchers, and as well as the cost of trash collection, which we pay just like any other property. There's no discount or anything. And then you take that sum and take 5% of it. It comes out roughly to $45,000 a year that we will pay in taxes. And currently, as a public housing property, Meadow Gardens does not pay taxes to the city of Norwalk because its revenue is too low.
So I guess my question was just to understand it, not that I'm criticizing you at all. So that other 95% of what people pay in rent, so they pay the rent based on what you think that they should pay, and then you take out the utilities and trash and all that kind of stuff. So the lender, why are they concerned about it? I guess is my question. Are they the principal? Is the principal going to take 30 years up front? Like, why do they need to be assured of the additional tax abatement? Does that make sense?
It does, yes. And you're asking the right questions, but first to clarify on how the rent is set, the low-income housing tax credit program, as administered by the Connecticut Housing Finance Authority, sets rents for tax credit properties based on the AMI that the developer selects. So everyone in those units will pay the same amount of rent, and it is far lower than fair market rent. So the 5% is really just about our taxes, not about tenant rent. And the reason why the bank is looking for the extension is because they're protecting the value of the asset and beyond the term, which is 17 years of their loan. They want to ensure that the property will be still valuable so that they get repaid. So it's all about protecting their asset. And unfortunately, Freddie Mac has very strict guidelines that are hard to negotiate.
They want to make sure that it doesn't go into a tax sale or that there's a lien.
Right,
Okay.
exactly, which it never would, because we wouldn't let that happen. But that's how they see it.
Okay. That's kind of what I was trying to get to. Thank you very much.
Any further questions?
Just Mayor, one last one. Just in general, is the 18-year abatement more on the like the larger side for a project of this scale? Or
So the tax credit program has a 15-year compliance period. And so this abatement generally covers that period. It's 18 years from when we execute, which should be in the next month or so, ideally right away. So the 18 years covers construction plus the tax credit compliance period.
Okay, thank you.
I can just add to, in my experience, the term and the provisions within the agreement are fairly standard for these types of public housing projects, and consistent with what underwriting would require for these projects.
Thanks, Marty.
And I'll
comments
share
or
that
discussion?
demolition has begun. You may have seen the first building is down, and we are very close to closing on our financing and starting new construction in mid-May. So we're so excited.
Further comments or discussion?
I just wanted to add to the conversation that I serve on the board of some affordable housing. And this approach to tax abatement is very, very common. It's exactly the way we would handle it. And that 5% really is just the multiplier to get to your tax, okay? After you've taken your rent, net out other expenses, and then it's 5%, whatever that rental income is. And that's what becomes your tax. It's very, very common in these affordable housing situations.
But by the way, throughout Connecticut, it's typically the abatement payment is based on essentially the percentage of effective gross income.
Right.
And this is within the range of what I've seen throughout Connecticut in these type of deals, not just in Norwalk.
Further comment or discussion?
And I'll just add, I'm so sorry, that when we apply for funding, being able to show that the city provides an abatement makes us much more competitive with our projects.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions or comments, I will call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. I want to give the Housing Authority a lot of credit because this council is seeing Soundview Landings, seeing Colonial Village, renovations and new buildings, and then seeing Meadow Gardens. A lot of affordable housing and assisted housing being built. There's still a need for a lot more. So just keep that in mind. Thank you. Next items 7. Okay, where am I here? 7B 1 and 2. Mr. Burnett. Oh, Mr. C, I'm sorry.
New glasses too. So I'd like to move these both two together. Item 7B1, confirm the appointment and hire of JP Habinski as Chief of Economic and Community Development for the City of Norwalk. Item 7B2, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to enter into an employment contract with JP Habinski with compensation and benefits thereunder consistent with section 35B as 2B of the code. I'm gonna like to move this and speak to it. It was honored to get to speak with Jay during the interview process, and I could talk about his experience where he comes to the city with years of city planning, which I believe is going to be a strong asset to the city of Norwalk. He also has a strong knowledge of our planning and zoning codes and really has some ideas. He also comes with in Stratford, he helped navigate them into online permitting, which a lot of people are going to be excited for. But really what did it for me, also was speaking to the comments that were made earlier, was when asked about affordable housing. He talked about the problems of revitalization, and how that coincides with gentrification and how that impacts affordable housing. And though we didn't ask him, and I don't think anybody can, to solve the affordable housing plan, he had a plan, he had an idea, and he knew of the issues, and knowing the issues and ready to tackle them, that really pushed it ahead for me. Also, one when I asked him why Norwalk, he said it reminded him of home. And it was such a diverse city, where he's really excited to come here and be able to help, to make sure that the people who grew up here, could continue to live here, in the city. And that really moved me, to really throw my support behind him. But he also comes with so much experience in navigating, the TOD plans and everything in Stratford. That I think he's gonna come to Norwalk and really help us, continue to move in the right direction, and go further, than we are now. So really excited to move Jay, and introduce him to the council if anybody has any questions.
Any comments, discussion, questions? Mr. Goldstein?
I just want to supplement what Councilman Seed said, just by saying that I also got an opportunity to speak with Mr. Urbanski during the interview process as well. Deeply thoughtful for all the reasons that Mr. Seed said, and I think is more than ready to take on a challenge as substantial as Norwalk. And I say that in the most positive way possible. Jay has extensive experience, and I want to add also as well with Complete Streets. And in addition, with digital digitization of our online permitting system, which is a multi-million-dollar project that we've taken on, and that is absolutely vital for this city. He's someone that I, as chair of our Economic Community Development Committee here on the council, I look forward to working with closely in the future. I think that he is going to be a real asset to the city, and I know consistently recommends it for people in the field in and around Canada. So I very much look forward to working with you, Jay. And I also really appreciated the comments made tonight about the real making sure that we don't take our foot off the gas when it comes to the housing challenges. And I just want to do a quick plug, which is that on this Monday, the Economic Community Development is going to be having a meeting where we're going to be discussing the affordable housing plan that was recently done at a joint meeting. We're discussing the joint meeting between the Planning and Zoning Commission, this body, but we will be having that on our agenda this Monday evening. So please absolutely attend, and we want to hear your voices and your thoughts. And I'm happy to give you my contact information after the meeting, and I'd like to hear more from you. So with that, Jay, look forward to working with you in the very not so distant future.
Ms. Smith.
Yes, I can't say anything better than Mr. Seed or Mr. Goldstein have commented just in terms of how impressed I was with all aspects that have already been discussed. I don't need to say it again. I do want to just add how much I appreciate your planning and zoning, particularly around your zoning experience. We have gone recently through a zoning rewrite and, cleaned up our codes, but we can always do better. And so I'm looking forward to having your expertise as to what we can do to improve things here in Norwalk.
It's done.
I'm really happy that I was not available for the interview, so I apologize. So no fault of yours. But I really would love it to be transparent for the people of the city of Norwalk who are going to be paying the salary and stuff like that. So I would love if he could speak to us a little bit. And one of my major concerns is looking at the draft of the Norwalk Affordable Housing Plan that we had. One of the things that stood out to me that I'm hoping that you'll be able to address as part of your job. In the last 10 years, as it says that the number of jobs fell by 16%. So I think that, and we've lost a lot of our corporate companies like Diageo and people like that and GE. And I'd really like to see a focus on, I'm a high school teacher. I really want good jobs to be available so that people can live and work in the city, and housing is affordable when you can afford to pay for it. Right now, the plan says that 39% of the people in Norwalk are housing cost burdened, which means, and with our upcoming the tax increase, it's going to increase. We may have close to half of the city being cost burdened, and that means households, both renters and homeowners. So for me, I really want to see a push on really developing corporate economic. Even I was talking to Mr. Burnett, even, medical billing, some jobs that kids can graduate and really move into that are available here that pay more than minimum wage for our people. Especially since I think, just had some notes here. Jared was just saying that now our residential homeowners are paying 71.5%, and our commercial has gone down to 28%. I really want to see a push in trying to bring businesses back to Norwalk. It is a great place to live and work, but if there's no work, we're just a neighborhood for the mall and grocery stores for our surrounding leafy communities. So I'd love to hear just a quick synopsis on how you would like to address that a little bit. Big picture. Is that possible?
Mr. Wiggins. Then
Yeah, thank you, Heather, because you kind of took a lot of what I was thinking about saying, but for me, I would love for you to address the individuals that was, speaking to you. I think this is really an opportunity these are two people that live in the community, two districts, I don't know if one of them left, but just to speak to, some of the comments and the things they mentioned, because like I said before, it's a real thing that's happening in Norwalk. And to Jalen's point, I would, we could talk all day until we're blue in the face, but until things start happening and, people start stepping up and being creative and finding ways for people to stay in Norwalk, to Heather's, Mrs. Dunn point, it's just gonna be a city where we just housing people that don't even spend their money here mostly. They, a lot of people from New York is coming to Norwalk, and we see a lot of small businesses failing as well. And I think that's part of the reason why, because no one's coming outside, everyone's coming and staying home. So how can we get people that lives here, that lived here, or struggling to live here, to stay here, or to come back to this city? So I would love for you to speak to that.
Sure, Mr. Hivinsky, you have the floor.
So my name is Jay Hivansky. And I just want to say how excited I am at the opportunity to have been considered for the city of Norwalk and all the great things and fantastic momentum that the city's currently experiencing. So I had a number of things prepared to talk about tonight, and I've decided that I'm not going to talk about any of those things, and I'm going to address, I'm glad it was brought up. I wanted to address what the residents spoke about tonight, because I think that's really what folks are feeling. And, I didn't have a passion for city planning or economic development. I wasn't into Legos or Monopoly growing up. I like helping people. And so that was always something that was taught, that was important to me, community service and helping people. And so that's why I do what I do. I enjoy talking, being part of community outreach and understanding what the problems are that regular folks face. And so, I think that to get into the details of how to solve the affordable housing crisis for Norwalk, if I could tell you all those answers today, I would be a very, very rich person, or I would be in much higher demand. It's a balance. And I think we talked about it a lot during, some of the discussions that I had leading up to this point with some of the community leaders, that, it's a balance. And, I think that if you want to help Norwalk residents, folks that live here should be able to live here if they want. And I think that that's the strategy. You've got to come up with strategies that work for residents. And so, if given the opportunity, I do look forward to learning from you all, as well as community leaders and the business community, about how I can best be a public servant here for the city of Norwalk. So happy to, hopefully I've answered some of that. I think that is a far longer, I know you have a lot of business tonight. It's it's a far longer conversation, I think, to be had about how to really solve, many of the granular issues that the city faces, which I'm happy. I'm really looking forward to getting to work and try to make life better for folks in town.
I think as we move forward, you'll have plenty of opportunity to display your expertise, and it's certainly, you have an amazing resume, and we appreciate that you're coming on board, so. Mr. Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A question as opposed to a comment. I'm sure in your research for the opportunity you looked at across what Norwalk has to offer, aside from affordable housing and job opportunities, what other areas do you plan to focus on in the next 90 to 120 days that you feel would be of most impact to Norwalk residents?
Well, I think, meeting with the immediate staff to get a strong understanding as to, what is happening with the folks that are reporting to me. And so I think that's probably my first 30 days is really meeting with everyone that reports to me. I think the online permitting, from what I'm hearing, the online permitting is a big priority for the town or for the city. There are many economic development strategies that I look forward to implementing here, whether it's, small business support systems, business retention systems. So I would say that there are a number of things that I have that I'm looking forward to unveiling as I start with the city, but I think those would be my immediate focuses.
Mr. Wiggins.
Last thing, promise. One thing that they said, and I'm hoping that we can kind of build some type of system around that is transparency. Really working and focusing on some data around some of the things they mentioned. And making that transparent and having those tough conversations. I hope, you could lead that charge, and, that's something I think is extremely important.
I'm looking forward to doing that. Certainly comfortable having those tough conversations. That's part of what my training is as a professional facilitator. So I look forward to the opportunity.
Further comments or questions from the members of the council? Seeing none, then I will call the vote. All in favor of appointing Mr. Urbanski as the Chief of Economic and Community Development, raise your hand. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, and I look forward to learning from all of you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn, all in favor? Opposed? Was that opposed?
No.
We are adjourned at 8:39. Thank you. Thank you.